Greetings, pet lovers. Bridget here with First Street Pets, and today we're going to talk about retractable dog leashes. Bring up the subject of retractable leashes in any group of dog folks, and you are sure to start a lively conversation. Everyone has an opinion on this matter, and most of them are negative. Now, I have used retractable leashes since they first came out in the 90s, and they work very well for me. So when I started seeing all this information online and all these admonishments from friends and dog trainers, I wondered what all the fuss was about. So I decided to do some research and gather some real information about the do's and don'ts and the safety concerns of retractable leashes. Now, there's no doubt that this tool, like any other, can be unsafe when used improperly, but we'll get to that later in the video. What I wanted to find out was what is actually happening out there and how can these kinds of accidents be prevented. A number of anti-retractable leash articles cite the number of 16,000 injuries being reported yearly from their use, but despite extensive research, I was unable to find any study or any kind of fact or figure around this. So this number seems to be one of those arbitrary things on the internet that someone guessed or made up, and then everyone else is just sharing. I was able to find one figure from the Consumer Product Safety Commission's National Electronic Injury Surveillance System. Now say that 5 times fast. They show a total of over 80,000 hospitalizations in the year 2018 resulting from, quote, pet products. But they don't specify what the pet products are, so it really could be anything. The Journal of the American Medical Association reports an increase in dog walking related fractures in seniors 65 and over, with over 4,000 cases reported in the year 2017. So I think what these figures really tell us is that walking dogs and being around pets can be hazardous in any case, whatever kind of equipment you are using, so that you need to be careful and think safety first when handling animals in any situation. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the retractable leash. I first saw this type of leash in the early 90s when I was just starting pet sitting in San Francisco. And I went to meet a new client with a standard poodle, and the client held up the leash and said, "Do you know how to use this?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." I'd never seen it before or heard of it. So the client could tell that I was bluffing and went ahead and showed me how to use it. So I was like, okay. Took the dog for a walk and I was hooked. I really liked the way that you could control how far away the dog gets from you. And most importantly, that you could keep the leash up off the ground. That was always an issue for me with dog walking, especially with multiple dogs, that those leashes would drop on the ground. They would step on them. You'd have to pull the leash out from under their leg, or the leashes were getting tangled around each other. So this seemed to me like a great tool, and I used it with success ever since. The 90s was a great time for innovations in dog training and in equipment used for dog training. That was when the Gentle Leader head collar came out. I took a training on that at a conference. The front attaching harness for walking. There were all sorts of new ideas that we were trying rather than just using the old choke chains and things of the old days to walk and to train dogs. So there were a lot of innovations at that time, but actually if you look into it, the history of these devices goes back a lot further. The first known patent for the retractable leash was filed in Manhattan, New York, actually in 1908 by someone named Mary Delaney, who stated, "It is usually desirable that the dog should have a certain freedom in running about, but it is difficult to prevent the animal from running on the wrong side of lampposts or pedestrians, thus causing much annoyance to the owner, who is constantly required to adjust the length of the leash in her hand, and frequently the leash is dropped and the dog permitted to run away." And she goes on from there. So 1908, this was not a new idea. And as you can see from the old picture and diagram, the design is pretty much the same. German Manfred Bogdan, I apologize if I didn't pronounce that properly, of the Flexi Company, who makes the Flexi leash, which is the most popular brand today, also claims to have invented this device in 1972. Although this newspaper ad from 1941 would say otherwise. So here's a picture from an ad in 1941 with a leash that looks remarkably like the one that we use today. It says, "Smart dog owners carry leashes wound on spring reels. The leashes encased in tenite are styled in lustrous colors to match almost any costume. By simply pressing a small switch on the handle, the dog may be controlled at any desired distance." So there you go. 1908, 1972, 1941. Who actually invented this thing? The retractable leashes that you can buy today in any store or on Amazon come in a variety of sizes, colors, and designs. I'll come right out and say that the only one I recommend for use is the actual Flexi brand, because they are, in my experience, the highest quality. I have used other ones that pet sitting clients have left for me over the years, the knockoff brands, the ones you get at the drugstore or the dollar store, and I've had these things literally fall apart in my hands. So it's worth the money that it costs for the actual Flexi brand. You can find really good prices for them on Amazon, and it is a really good quality product. I personally prefer the tape type leash over the cord because it is stronger and lasts longer. And I do prefer the shorter length. I think that 16 feet is plenty of space for your dog to move around. Even something like 10 or 11 feet would be fine. They don't necessarily need to be 19 feet away from me. If I want my dogs to run that much, I will go to an off-leash place. But just for walking around, for ease of movement, the shorter length works fine and serves the purpose. You do need to take care of your Flexi leash because it is not impervious, even though it's a very tough device. The one thing you want to try not doing is leaving it on the floor or dropping it. It can handle being dropped a few times, but if it gets a good impact or gets stepped on by a heavy boot, it could break the mechanisms inside and no longer work. Another important tip is if you are walking in the rain and the tape or cord inside gets wet, don't let it reel back inside because it's going to rot. Pull it all the way out, set the brake, hang it up over your shower or something, and let the cord dry completely before you put it back inside the handle. Now, there are appropriate and inappropriate places to use this type of leash. When I lived in the country and walked in parks on trails where I didn't see anybody for an hour, this was a great product to use. You can let your dogs go out as far as you want, as long as you can keep them under your control, and it's no problem. However, in the city or in tighter confines, you may need to keep them much closer to you. So it's fine to use this type of leash, but you definitely don't want to let them out more than 6 or 8 feet because you're coming in contact with a lot of other people, possibly other dogs. So you don't want to just be lollygagging and looking around while your dog wanders away 15 feet and then gets into a fight with another dog or gets out in traffic. So you really do need to pay attention and decide what is the best place to use this. I also do not recommend using these at a pet hospital or a groomer or a kennel or someplace where you're walking into a building with a bunch of other people and dogs. Of course, now during COVID, that's not happening, but someday when things go back to normal, we will be doing this again. I have seen people in the lobby of the pet hospital with a Flexi leash and their dog is getting away from them and wandering around and causing problems. So even though I use these devices to go for a walk, when I go to a place like that, I use a regular 6-foot leash. Training is super important for your safety while walking dogs on any type of a leash. As I mentioned, it is reported that there are many thousands of injuries related to dog walking, especially for seniors, but it can happen to anybody. I've seen it happen to people of all ages. So slips, trips, and falls are a main cause of injury for anybody in a lot of different situations. So having your dog trained and accustomed to walking is very important to your safety. You don't want to take a dog out on a retractable leash or on any kind of leash if you're not paying attention, if you don't feel well, if they're liable to bolt and to pull you off of your feet. So very important that you make sure your dogs get regular exercise. If you've had surgery or you have balance issues, get someone to help you, whether a dog knowledgeable friend or neighbor, or hiring a professional pet sitter to help your dogs get out and get exercise so that you can be safe, whatever type of walking equipment you may use. Of all the retractable leash accidents and injuries I have personally heard of, they have all involved user error. As I mentioned, having your dog trained and being in the proper type of environment for that equipment is critical. Also, number two is a lot of injuries involve a person putting their hand on the cord or string. It says very clearly in the instructions, never touch the cord. Don't. It's not a 6-foot leather leash. You only control the leash by the handle and the button that is on the handle. You never touch it. So if you're reaching down to grab it like you would with a regular leash, sure, you're going to get injured. If the dog pulls away, it's going to slide through and give you a very bad rope burn. If you wrap it around your hand, you could be knocked down or have an injury to your hand or fingers. So practice using this at home in your yard or in a safe environment so that you know how to make the leash longer and shorter, to bring your dog back to you, and to do what you need to do so you won't ever touch the string. Using an appropriate collar is also super important. As in my article and video on keeping your dog from pulling and choosing equipment for walking, you never want to attach the leash to the collar, just the regular buckle collar that has the ID tags on it, because those can break or your dog can back out of it and it can come off. And now your dog is loose with no identification. You always want to use a different collar for walking. I like the Martingale collars personally. There are different kinds that you can use that are safer for walking. Also a variety of harnesses, although you really have to be careful with the harnesses. I just started a new dog walk last week with a poodle type of dog, and who's kind of skittish and hasn't been out lately because of COVID, and the owner is unable to walk her. So she bought a nice new harness, put it on the dog, handed me the leash, and that dog sucked out of that harness in a second. So they're not all designed for the clever dog who can get out of them. I do like those front attaching harnesses, and they can also be adjusted so that if the dog pulls, they can't get out of it. It'll just stay on them like a collar. So again, whether you're using retractable or any other kind of leash, you want to have a collar or a harness that is safe and appropriate for walking. Another tip, which may sound super obvious to you, but I see this a lot, is be aware of your surroundings. We've all seen people wandering down the street, looking at their phone, crossing the street, and not even looking for traffic or other hazards. I've seen people at dog parks talking to other people, drinking a coffee, not paying any attention to what's going on. When you're walking your dogs, you need to be paying attention 100% so that you can keep your eyes open for any hazards. If I see a loose dog or something that might be a problem in the distance, I'm going to turn around and go a different way. I'm going to shorten up the leash. I'm going to take some action. But I can't do that if I'm not paying attention. And I have seen people, especially with retractable leashes, just sort of walking around, not even looking at the dog. The dog is wandering off in a totally different direction, and they're not at all paying attention. So obviously this isn't a safe situation, and you need to really bring your focus back on what you are doing at the moment. It's also important to know your limits. As I mentioned, if you are unable to walk your dog, if you feel unsafe, and then get some help. There's no shame in that. As I said, try to get someone who's dog knowledgeable, that's a friend, family, neighbor, or hiring a professional pet sitter to assist you so that your dog gets the exercise that he needs. Even though I've been walking dogs personally and professionally for many years, I don't like walking more than 2 dogs. That's just my preference. I know people who go out there with those crazy packs of 20 dogs and that works for them, but I just don't see how that works. Fine for them, but that's not my comfort level. I don't like walking more than 2 dogs, and I want to have whatever equipment I feel is appropriate for those dogs and that location and that particular situation. So it's important for you to know your limits, whether you're just walking your own dogs or you're a pet sitter or walking dogs for somebody else, to be within your comfort zone. So I guess what it comes down to is that the flexi leash or retractable leash certainly can be unsafe and cause accidents and injuries, but so can any other piece of equipment that you use for dog walking. The retractable leash is a piece of equipment that does require understanding of how it works and proper usage and etc., as we've discussed in this video. So if you don't like it and it doesn't work for you, then that's fine. Don't use it. But I don't see any reason for folks to look for bans on this product or say that nobody should ever use it, because it works perfectly fine for me. And after over 20 years, gosh, 30 years, I've never had a problem with it. So again, that's up to you. And in many situations, there's nothing that beats the stout 6-foot leash. Thank you for watching today. I hope this has been helpful. I'd like to do some other videos on dog equipment. So please let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to hear about, or if you agree or disagree with my opinion, or would like to share your own experiences. I would love to hear from you.